A federal appeals court judge ruled that DACA violates U.S. immigration laws, putting nearly 600,000 young immigrants in limbo. The judge is keeping the policy intact, which means first-time applicants will be turned away for now. I sat down with Noura Ahmed, the legal director for Louisiana's ACLU, to talk about immigration's impact on our state. When people think of immigration, they may not understand exactly why people are coming here. So in your experience working with these groups, why are they coming?
So you have a number of reasons that people will come and present themselves at the border. We're talking about issues related to gang violence, we're talking about climate-related issues, we're also talking about extraordinary poverty, and we're talking about government persecution. And truly, people who are living in countries who feel as though they have no hope, and that if they stay in their countries, they will die there. They will die from lack of food, they will die because groups are coming to kill them, and their only hope is to work to get out of that situation. And so we see people coming from the continent of Africa, we see them traveling through 11 countries in Latin America, facing rapes, muggings, the Darien Gap. Everyone who has traversed that actual pathway, they see dead bodies as they walk through. And oftentimes, they lose people who they started on that journey with. So the people we see at the border are the absolute most desperate human beings one can think of. People who are coming to this country believing that they will be provided with refuge. And most importantly, these people believe that they are coming and presenting themselves legally. They see themselves as following through on the United States legal process for seeking asylum.
So there's really a lack of understanding whenever they come here.
An absolute lack of understanding, and even though this country says that these individuals are in, quote, civil detention, so they're not, quote, criminals, they wear tags that say inmate identification. They wear jumpsuits with stripes on them. So even though we have a system that says these are not, quote, criminals, they are treated exactly like criminals, and they are housed in facilities that once housed people who were convicted of crimes in this country.
So about how many immigrants do we have in Louisiana?
So that's a difficult number that we've been working on because the data is ever changing, but we have now started to visit all of these facilities, and by our count, it seems as though we're talking about 3,000 people within the state, but that number is ever changing, and there are more facilities and beds available. So there are 10 ICE contract facilities in operation in this state, but we're talking about 8 that are housing immigrants. 7 of the 8 operating facilities are for-profit prisons. That means we are profiting off the backs of immigrants. Some of those for-profit prisons are traded on the New York Stock Exchange, so that means investors are making money off of immigrants. There is an extraordinary disconnect between detention and allowing investors and profiteers to engage in this business. And the fact that our federal government approves this is extraordinarily concerning. And while it may have stopped in the Department of Corrections context, it has to stop in the immigration context, because the number of people we see with severe medical needs who are telling us that they're being given nothing but ibuprofen is shocking. We're talking about people who have 8-pound hemorrhoids. We're talking about people with cancer. We're talking about people who do not have their medication for severe medical illnesses. And they are not being given the care that they need, and in fact, the care that the performance-based detention standards require. And that is part and parcel of what it means to incarcerate people who are coming to this country, when it's very possible to allow them to live their lives as they go through the legal process of seeing whether they will or will not be granted asylum. And in fact, it's virtually impracticable and mainly extraordinarily difficult to actually win your case in the absence of a lawyer and while you're in detention.
So where does the ACLU come in?
So we come in because we could not get answers to a lot of the questions you initially asked me. How many people are in detention? Who's in detention? Do they have a deportation order? So we, along with 3 other coalition partners, we're talking about SPLC, RFK Human Rights, and IPNLG, we're actually going to all of the 8 operating detention facilities, providing Know Your Rights information, answering questions from the general group, and then meeting with people one-on-one for consultations about where their current case stands.
So it's a really complicated process. Is there anything that people at home should definitely know about this?
Everyone at home should understand that those individuals coming to the border, they believe that they're legally coming to this country for refuge. So there seems to be a disconnect in this country because a lot of people think those presenting themselves at the border are, quote, illegal. But you have to understand it from the perspective of people who have given up everything, who've gone through torture and torment to present themselves. They are saying, hello, ICE, I'm here because I would like to engage in a legal process. When they're responded with being thrown in jail, they don't understand what else they should have done in order to seek refuge when they couldn't continue to survive in their home country.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's been really interesting information. Thank you.
Thank you so much.